right, I'm glad that you guys are here. And I have not done one of these in quite a few months. So you need to ask me your questions about things that you don't understand or things that you've heard but you're not sure. This is a good time because it looks like a lot of people are missing. So the smaller the group, the more I can talk to you directly. Okay, so we will take a look at SAM.gov, and I will talk to you about not just federal opportunities, but in general, I want you to know that when you're doing staffing, whether it's medical or any other type of staffing, you could very easily apply this process to any type of staffing. And it could be commercial, it could be government. And truthfully, that's how you should look at this anyway. You should think about any type of business in an open thought process, meaning you should consider all different streams of income, not just learning how to do something one way for one reason. At least that's what I believe. When I learned how to do government contracts, it was for at least 10 reasons, but that's because I am a teacher, I'm a developer, and I've been doing this for a long time. But I learned how to find what the government needs and to provide that service. I've done that very well over the years. I did not expect that I would be doing contracting myself because most of the time I only did contracting to help businesses learn how to do it. When they would feel that it was very challenging, I would do it for them and show them, see, you won. And they would think, well, that's because you taught me or because you did it for me. But then as long as they used the same practices, as long as they did what I taught them to do, they learn how to win on their own. I will tell you that medical staffing, it's going to seem like a lot. Of course, we're not going to cover all of those things today, but I want you to know what it would take for you to start winning medical type contracts. It is a very lucrative industry. During COVID, there were so many commercial businesses getting into this. They didn't know how to do federal. There are not a lot of people that know how to do government. But in your state, you could probably find opportunities where you could do not just federal contracts, but also in your state. So you should be looking in both places because everything that you would do as it relates to how to start doing staffing, you could just apply that to either or. Staffing is staffing, but there are certain processes and things you have to do. Okay, so you need to think about that. And I want you to understand that the process can be a little bit challenging at first, but once you set up your process, it's something that you continue to do over and over and over. Okay, so let's get into the things you would need to think about when you want to get into staffing. Some of you may have a staffing company already. Okay, now I do obviously have a full course curriculum, but this is the high level of the course. Some of you are not sure if you should go this direction, so that's why you're here. But I will today walk you through the things that you have to be ready for. And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, that course is big. There's a lot in it. And there has to be a lot in it because during the live course that I did, I realized that there were a lot of things that you guys might not know. I assume some things you did know, but I'll talk to you about those things. So let's start out with the profile of what you need to think about when it comes to staffing. First of all, you need to have your image together. And that's for any business, but you need to have your image together, especially for staffing. What do I mean by image? We'll talk about that. But it's the first thing you have to do. And some people always think when it comes to federal or my capability statement, yeah, you need that, but you also need a nice looking website. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. It needs to be very clean and to the point. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I deal with all of those types of things in the medical staffing course because again, sometimes I assume people already have these things done, but by the time I got through the live course, I started realizing I need to make this course a lot longer. So the people that were in the first course, they got a whole lot more, which is beneficial to some of you if you want to do this, because it went from, you know, maybe 9 short modules. And when I say short, you guys know I don't do things like most people in these courses. My courses have a lot of stuff in them, but that one was even longer than what I expected, because I felt like I cannot tell you you need to have a good image and not show you what that means. Okay, you know that for every business, but I want you to know what your website should look like for medical staffing. Number 2 is recruitment. There's a whole process in recruitment. Some of you may know this. Can you do these things on your own? Absolutely. You don't have to have a big team, but you need to have these things done. You can't get away with image or not having a great image. You can't get away with not having the recruitment process. It's a process that you will repeat over and over and over again. So you have to know, what does that process entail? And some people are already in the staffing business and they're not growing and they're not doing it right. Meaning we have to stop thinking so small. Just because you are one person in a business doesn't mean you need to act like it. You need to act like where you're headed. I've always been that way. And that's how come my businesses turn out to be exactly what I want them to be. That doesn't mean it's not work, and it doesn't take sometimes not a long time, but I mean, I've been a business developer, so I know, and I come from big corporate, so I know what things should look like. That has been my advantage as an entrepreneur, is being from big corporate and being an entrepreneur, even though they don't always go together. But what big corporate did for me, which is what I want to do for you guys over and over and over again, no matter what type of government contracting you're doing, is I want you to see yourself where you want to be already. So, you don't just do it when you get there. You believe it now. So that means you have to be professional. So you have to have the image, you have to have the recruitment system, you do the foundational work. 3, the forms, HR forms. Like, what kind of HR forms? Well, you need an application, you need, NDAs, you need things to protect yourself. You need documents to help your employees. And remember, they're your employees. Even if they are contractors, they belong to you. They don't belong to your client or your customer, whichever you choose to call them. They belong to you. So you have to have your HR package together. Number 4, you win contracts. Now, that's a system within itself. So when I originally created the medical staffing contracts, I did assume people had a lot of things together, but they didn't. And that is what made the course grow so much bigger. And I taught all of it live. I had to figure out how to work this into my schedule, because it's just my personality. I feel guilty when I feel that I know something's missing. And yes, these people had already paid. They only paid really for this part, to be honest, the win contracts, but I couldn't do that. So I had to include all of these other things, which if you decide to take the course, you'll see it. Okay, so these are the 4 categories. I make it look so simple, but there's a lot of meat in each one of these. So let's get into the meat. So the first thing you want to do, and even if you don't decide to get in the course right away, you need to do these things. Or if you don't decide to take my course at all, or you don't decide to consult with me at all, you need to do these things. You need to work on your image. Yes, people always think this capability statement right here is so important, and it is, but in this case, I would say, even though contracting officers don't always go to your website, they don't, but if you decide to do state, they might. You just never know who's going to go to your website. And I'm not a huge website person, but I am a person I think about branding. And I would probably say, for my manufacturing company that you guys know I'm doing right now, I probably got more serious about that branding image. You know why? Not to say that I didn't with my other companies. My other companies, I would just think, well, you know, we need a website. We need people to be able to find things. We need people to be able to do things. But with my manufacturing, I am dealing with competing with the big boys. So I have to look better than them. I have to be in a position where when I need a vendor or a supplier or someone to do something for me, I know what they're going to do. They're going to go look at my website because that's what I do. I don't care how big the company is. I go look and see what do they do. I go look and see if I can find out things about them. So I have to look like that too. And you do too, because you don't know who's going to try to use you for staffing. I'm also trying to help you to realize you may be doing other types of staffing. Some of you are interested in home care staffing. Some of you have, I don't know if those folks are on the call, I mean, in the training right now, but they will be. They'll probably watch this and they'll think, well, I want to do staffing, but I want to do it in a different way. I want to do it for home health. Maybe they have a home health license. You don't know who's going to be looking at you. Always be ready. So, you know, some of you probably have these things, your domain, your logo, you know, that's kind of simple, but you don't even have to have an elaborate website. In the training, I show you the websites that are nice and clean and they're basic, but you don't need anything elaborate. You just need people to know, my company does medical staffing. My company can supply you with staff in these areas, that kind of thing. Okay. And your capability statement should look very similar to that. It should look just like that. To be honest, I've noticed some people, which I think is a great idea. When I say people, I mean companies. I've noticed some companies have started attaching their capability statement through a link on their website. I like that, so that people can just download it. But we talk about those things. So there's a whole section on image and branding. And yes, it goes into a lot more detail, but these are the things you need to have. A business telephone number. It's okay if you're going to use your mobile number, that's fine. Or you have an employee that's going to use their mobile number, that's fine. Just make sure whenever you answer that phone, it's professional. It's you know, even if you use it for your business on the other side, even if you say, or you're saying things like, this is Michelle. You know, I mean, we have a phone that we allow, like a mobile setup where we allow our clients through the FedBiz exchange company to contact us for, and I use it for one-on-ones. We don't mind that number being out. People don't abuse it. But if someone calls on that number, they won't get me, but unless they're calling me back. But do it however you want, just make sure it's professional, okay? Now, we do have another big telephone line for my manufacturing. It's a different situation. Now, do government clients have this personal cell phone? Sure, they do, because I am the Chief Acquisitions Officer and I'm the CEO for my manufacturing. That's you. So if you're going to answer the phone, just remember that could be anybody trying to do business with you. Keep that in mind always if you're using the same phone. But I want to mention one more thing about business phones and telephone numbers. It doesn't have to be a business phone per se, but these things help you to build credit and help you to get credit. So think about that. So if you have a mobile phone, put it in your business name or a business name if you can, even if it means changing over your cell phone number to your business name. Think about that, because those things do let people know that you are a legitimate business. Okay, then you're set up for your SAM account. Now, that can be a big deal right now because, and some of you are probably dealing with this, some of you are probably already set up. When people talk to me about SAM, what I try to tell them is make sure all your paperwork is together before you do that, because it's different now. It's not as easy as it was before. What's happening is people, and I have this situation. I have a couple of offices. I have one that I work out of. We have a mailing address. We have another facility. So fortunately for me, I mean, I already had those things together, but with the manufacturing company that's doing government contracts and planning to do more and more and more, I was very careful because I'm with you. I'm setting up another company. I mean, it's done already. It's been done since, you know, for the last couple of years. But I noticed how they are giving people such a hard time. So don't have an office in another state put that office in another state on your SAM paperwork, and then put your mailing. Now you can have a mailing and a business physical. I do, and they let me do that with no problem. But everything just needs to match up. But you can't have, out of state addresses and in state situations as well. Everything needs to match. Okay, so SAM, that's a whole nother story, but you need to take it seriously because they can hold you up. Okay, all right. Next would be recruitment and lesson 2. What does that mean, recruitment? Well, there are a lot of things that you need to do. Let me mute people. Can you guys mute? Can you mute yourself? Hold on, let me see if I can see who's unmuted. And then, okay, looks like they muted themselves. But there are a lot of things that you need to do under lesson 2, the recruitment system. It's a big lesson. And you guys know, some of you know that Jessica is my poster child. She was the first service person that would allow me to coach her and mentor her on camera. And that opened a lot of doors for people. And you guys know she's been very successful with government contracting. She and I are still very close to this day. I invited her to some of the classes, some of the courses that we had, the live ones, and she was amazing. She was amazing, and she really brought in the other piece. Because remember, my job is to teach you how to win contracts. But I decided to ask her to be a guest because she does this stuff every day. As a matter of fact, I hired her for my manufacturing company. We have to hire 300 people, and we don't have the right HR staff yet. She has to hire our HR staff, and she's already placed, a chemist for me, and she did it better than we could ever do it. Not to mention, she's going to report to somebody else. She won't report to me, but we hired her company. She is now doing other projects, other services, because she understands you can't just have one stream of income. The government system that she's built, is kind of working by itself. She has quite enough time, her and her team, to do other things. Now, when she takes us on as a client, I told her, you're going to have to be full-time with us because we're going to need you for the whole year. But that's because she's built her company based off of, I know I didn't know her. It's been almost 2.5 years, I think, since I've known her. But when we first started, she was right where you were. She didn't know anything to do. She just started watching my videos. And I thought she knew some things, and you guys would hear about that. If you decide to take the course, you hear some of our conversations about how things were. But, she did have some commercial staffing experience, but no federal. And she was part of groups where nobody knew how to do federal. Everybody knew how to do commercial, but commercial is a little different. You can't bring the same pricing in from commercial staffing to government staffing. And you don't need to as a small business because you're still going to make a fortune. Larger companies do that, and they're greedy. And that's how we get them out of the way, is because they're so greedy. You don't need to be greedy. And that's what happened to Jessica. I asked her, how did you lose your first bid, because of pricing? How much did you lose by? And she told me $95,000 or something. I was like, what? How did you lose by? But that was because I did not realize she didn't know the difference between commercial pricing and government pricing and how to manage that. All I did was one session with her about, this is how you need to do your government pricing. We need to do some research on this position. And then the next time you start bidding, which was right away, because I had her bidding all of the time. She only lost 2. By the third one, she won, but she was planting the seeds. And that's how you have to do. How do you do that? You need this hiring software. So we talk about that. Now, I'll tell you, those of you that have been looking around, you may know there's not a lot of good hiring software out there, which is not good. A lot of people jumped into hiring software and building things when COVID came up, because that's how people are. Nobody thinks for themselves. Everybody's doing the same thing. Most of it is trash. I actually reviewed it myself, all the different links I gave to people in the class, and said, let's look at some of these. You guys review on your own, I'll review on my own. We barely found any. Indeed was one of the better ones. I hate that they're one of the only ones, but they were one of the better ones. All of this other stuff that you see out there, we can hire your people, we can do this. It's all game. They're not, it's not efficient. It's overpriced. They're not teaching you anything. You can do a lot of things. And guess what? In the training, Jessica, she's like my daughter now. I asked her, well, can you show us how you do Indeed? I know how to do Indeed, but I wanted her to show you how to do Indeed because quite frankly, I don't do my own staffing. So I knew that she's doing this all the time, and she did a class for us on that. So she taught them how to use Indeed. Now, if you have another service, I know that, what's the other one? ZipRecruiter. They're just very expensive. Indeed is a lot more, I probably should get endorsements from them or something, get paid for telling people to use them, but it's just more realistic. It's foundational. It's reasonably priced. You get a lot out of it. So that's what she reviews with us in the training. And then job postings. We have job posting templates in there. I did not know till the training that people don't necessarily know how to do job postings. That's where I realized I have got to put so much more in here. Because if I don't put it in the course, people are just going to need to do one-on-ones with me, or they're going to ask me. So because I know you need these things, we put it in the course. So she did some of those. I did a couple. We have to have job posting templates. Now, what I did do live was we walked through a real solicitation. I have to watch the time. We walked through a real solicitation, and we went through the statement of work. So, because the statement of work is going to determine what the job posting looks like. You wouldn't know that if you don't do government, but at the same time, if you do commercial, it's kind of the same. It's just that government is a little bit different. You also want to be careful that you don't put all your business out there. You don't want your competitors, even though I don't believe in competition per se, you don't want your competitors to know exactly what you're doing. You want to watch them. Most of them are dumb enough to put their pricing for what they're going to pay in the position. I don't know why people do that. They just put it out there. So we can tell, okay, so that company is going for this staffing contract. So let's say it's something like some type of, let's say an internal doctor. And we know that the only internal contract out there in SAM.gov right now is the one with the Veterans Administration. So it's the same position. You can tell by what they're saying because they took everything right out of the statement of work and they put it on the job posting. Yes, some of that you're going to do, but you don't want to put everything out there. So Jessica and I talked about that. We just talked through a lot of things out loud to give not just the documents and the video and the training, but to have people think. I need you guys to think about what you're doing and think about what your process looks like. These two things are part of your process. You need the hiring software to go out there and search and look, but you need this job posting to take that job posting, post it out there on Indeed, and have people start replying to it. Some people don't use Indeed very successfully, or ZipRecruiter, or any other hiring software. So you need the job postings, but you want to create a job posting, a template that you can use over and over and over again, because I'll do you just like I did Jessica. You should be bidding often, as often as you can. You don't want to get yourself into a situation, meaning, because I tell you guys in everything that I do, always be ready to win, because you could definitely win. Always be ready to win. Don't do anything you're uncomfortable with. So as an example, let's say they only need 2 people and you're comfortable with 2 people as your first, then do 2 people. Don't do 5 if you think it's going to take forever, or if you're scared, to have to go out there and find 5 people, unless you're doing, especially if you're by yourself, and especially if you're not doing this full time. If you're not doing this full time, you're going to have to do a lot of your groundwork. This is what I call lesson 2, recruitment. This is groundwork that you have to do. Okay, so it's building your foundation. So you have the job postings, then you have the screening process. That's the whole process. What does that mean? Of course, we go over that in the course. You have to screen for this, you have to look for that. There's a list of things that you have to look for. You have to do drug testing. You have to find out if they have a criminal background. Now, do you do these things yourselves? No, they're cheap services where you can do these things. Now, some people might say, well, what if, I don't want to do this if I haven't won the contract. Well, you're not going to win the contract or win contracts without having these things in place. When you don't have a system, and you guys know me by now, I believe in systems. I believe in step-by-step things. Now, in the medical staffing, at first, it's going to seem like a lot for the steps, but you won't always have to do that. You're creating the groundwork at first. Now, some of you will be ahead of others. Some of you will already know how to do that. Some of you already have a business where you hire people and it works for you, okay? Some of you are starting from the very beginning, okay? So your screening process, we talk about what are the things you need to be careful of? What do you need to look for, okay? Interviewing. I assume people know how to interview because they have businesses, but not everybody does. And even if they do, staffing for medical is different. What are you going to ask them about? It's so funny because we're still working on our plan with Jessica Staffing Company. As a matter of fact, me and my COO and my compliance officer who documents all of our processes and procedures for the manufacturing, we had a meeting with Jessica's company today. And we laughed because at first we were thinking, well, her company doesn't start hiring for us until, like let's say in a few more months in 2023, but we could not find the right chemist. We couldn't find the right chemist for some reason on our own. One of my executives was trying to find a chemist for her department. We gave it to them. She did it just like that. Couldn't even believe it. I said, well, that just goes to show you we're not as good at this as she is. And me personally, I'm not interested in doing my own staffing. I just don't have time. I don't want to. I've never liked it. So, you have to like this thing. Jessica loves it. You need to like it. Everybody that I know that does staffing, they love it. I don't. Otherwise, I would be doing it. I'm just not interested. So you need to love this and you need to want to work with people. You're going to meet a lot of different kind of people, strange people, all kinds of people. And you have to be very strong. You shouldn't be personal with those people. You should not be friendly with those people to the extent that they know, well, you're just a small business. I'm just one person. None of that. It doesn't work. These people, not that they're bad people. These nurses, doctors, consultants, they will stab you in the back, try to figure out what you're doing. People always want to know. When they don't have their own ideas, they want to know what you're doing. How did she get this contract? Instead of them going to do the work, they're going to try to get this information from you in different ways. And if you're a large company, you're not thinking about that, but you're not a large company. And large companies sue people for doing that to them. So when I talk about documents that you need to have in place, NDAs and non-competes, those things are important. I make people sign NDAs for everything when it comes to me doing business with them. I know that they don't totally protect me, but also non-competes. You guys definitely need to make your people sign non-competes because they go get friendly with your client. So you hire them as your employee. They're a 1099. Because I don't suggest that you guys do W-2s until you get to a certain place. We have a lot of discussion about that as well. Because if you do a W-2 in the beginning, this is gonna suck up all of your profit. You're not gonna make any money. You have to get on your feet first. So if you have, one or two contracts to start out with, you're gonna see some money that you can start putting away. But those people, so let's say you hire 2 therapists to go to the VA hospital. And the contract is for 2,080 hours a year. So it's a full-time contract for each of these people. They get friendly with those people and it's normal. It's normal behavior. They get friendly with them. And the next thing you know, they want to work for the VA. Well, they have a contract with you. They can't work for the VA. And the VA is your client. They can't do that. So you have to have a non-compete in place with those things. Background checks, we kind of talked about that, drug testing, things like that. So all of these things have to happen before you send them to the government. So, sometimes you will feel like, well, the government said they want these people in 10 days and there are things that are missing. Don't worry about those things. We'll talk through those things. And if you need to reach out to me, then, we'll talk about it. But a lot of those discussions happened in the training. So they're video recorded. Payroll, that's another thing. Payroll is something that you need to think about. How am I going to handle that? How do I do that? Especially since they're 1099. Your 1099 forms have to be correct by the end of the year or quarterly or whatever, however you're going to do it. But those kinds of things you need to think about. Okay. And you guys can ask questions as we go along, okay? Because not everybody is here right now. So this class was double the size. I know what people are doing, which is not a problem. If they miss it, they are able to listen to this, which we will send it out to everyone that signed up. I'll have probably John will get it done and he'll send it over to you, or Holly or Sharon or somebody, but we'll get it over to you so you can listen again. HR forms, I just mentioned that. The application, the non-disclosure agreement, same thing as NDA, the non-compete. Non-disclosure, let me just back up. The non-disclosure, you guys know what the application is. That's for the employees to fill out. Okay, now me personally, again, this is why I'm not in staffing. When I was in corporate, I used to think to myself, why do they have people filling out applications before they interview? Me personally, if it were up to me, I wouldn't do that. I'm not telling you not to do that, but I wouldn't do that. It's a waste of time. I don't need an application for a person I'm not going to hire. I don't. But everybody does it the other way. They do the application and then they want you to go through the interview. Now I can see getting some general information about the person, the resume. All you're going to do is look at the resume. The stuff that's on the application, you're not going to care about, well, you will care about where they live, maybe. But all of the other stuff that's on the application, it's on the resume most of the time. So, but you need to have one. You can use a general application. That doesn't have to be anything special. The non-disclosures are to help people to understand you do not discuss what goes on while you work for me outside of this company, because they do it. They get friendly with the government people, with the commercial employer. And the next thing you know, they're discussing your business. This is why you do not want to share certain things with your employees or your contractors. And I hate saying this because it sounds so harsh, but it's the truth. I am very close to my staff, but I don't talk to them about everything. I have maybe a director that I talk to about certain things, but I do train my staff. I do. I teach them as much as I can. And even in this manufacturing company, we have a system where we're going to make sure that people get all the training they need to have, and so that they will see a path to go to the next level if they want to. They're going to learn each other's jobs. So I believe in that. I do, but I don't believe in being just having discussions in front of employees that are not appropriate, because maybe they might carry the information out. I've seen it happen. Jessica will tell you too. It's happened to her, and it's not good. It's not healthy. Then you have to treat the employee different, because now you feel you can't trust them. So you need to be very professional at all times. But you can be friendly and caring and be a good leader, but you don't need to discuss things in front of them. People are very lackadaisical nowadays. Hardly anybody is professional. You go to the grocery store and you hear the grocery store. I try not to go to the grocery store anymore, but it's amazing to me how you hear employees discussing looking for another job right in front of the customer. I can't believe it sometimes. I'm thinking to myself, are you serious? Or I'll tell you a place I do go. I go to Starbucks a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I hear employees talking about things that I'm thinking to myself, that is so inappropriate. It just is. So you need to think about that. They do. They go tell all your business. The non-compete, it means they cannot compete against you. They cannot go to your clients. They cannot talk to your clients, any of those things, behind your back. Now, they are going to be supervised by these clients. So that's something else I need to make clear. These people are also going to be their supervisors. So they get close to these people. And these people do the opposite of what I'm telling you not to do. So as an example, a lot of times you will have a director of nursing over the nurses. She might be friendly with them, so they tell her things. It's human nature. You don't want that. If they don't have anything to tell, then they won't be telling her. Because what happens is your reputation is on the line. And let's say an employee really doesn't understand what's going on, but they're over here talking about something they don't understand what's going on. That's why you have to have these things in place. You could literally sue them if they're discussing these things, because they're messing up, or they could hurt your image, which could cost you future contracts. Okay, so that's the only thing I want you to think of. Let me see. So here's a question. So would the staffing agency provide benefits such as PTO, insurance, etc., or would it be the hiring facility? Very good question. No, you would not. Well, let me say this to you. If you were to W-2 these people, you would offer those types of things. I am telling you, you don't want to do that to start out with. And here's why: because you're putting out money for things that you don't need to put out money for. Unless a contract says to you that you must have this person. So they're asking for a physician. Unless they say you must hire the physician, they must be a W-2 employee, you don't do it. Because otherwise you're going to be responsible for taxes, payroll taxes. You're going to be responsible for PTO. Now you're going to have insurance anyway, liability insurance, but you're going to be responsible for, some of them might say that they want health insurance. No, you'll be out of business before you get started. And nobody's going to tell you the truth about that. People are going to tell you, well, you need to have those things. No, you don't. Now, sometimes the government will say to you, we want W-2 employees. You might say, I'm not ready to hire somebody as a person ongoing like that. So I'm responsible for payroll taxes, excuse me. I'm responsible for PTO. Now, what you will be responsible for is workers' comp in general at your state. This is why you don't want to take on things that you don't have to take on, because you will have to do workers' comp. You will have to do general liability. Okay, so you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so that was the only question. Very good question. Okay, so the offer letter. The offer letter is when you are going to offer, after the interview and all of that, you're going to offer the person the job, and it's going to have all the details. That's a template. A lot of these things are templates, so it makes your process much faster. Policies and procedures. You know, when I was in corporate, I had an amazing mentor that taught me a lot about business, but he was not an entrepreneur. And he used to say to me, why do you make when I got into my own business and I started doing coaching, he would say, we would have some amazing conversations, and he would say, why do you make the businesses do policies and procedures? And when I say that here, we're talking about HR policies and procedures, okay? Now, you could buy this as a template, or you could have someone do it. There's some very general things that you could do. You don't have to have anything all fancy, but it needs to be a basic foundation and a living document. But he would ask me, why do I make people do that? And I said, because they're not always going to be a small business. And even if they are small, I don't care if it's 3 of them. They need some, and I was shocked that of all people, because my mentor was very, very successful, at the time that he started mentoring me, he was a regional vice president. And then, this was in big corporate. And then he went on to be a president of one of the companies under the umbrella of the corporation. So he was extremely successful. I was surprised that he asked me that. I said, I'm surprised at you. We have all these policies and procedures in corporate, already. I met him because I worked under his region. And he said, yeah, but I mean, they're too small for that. And I didn't realize until later on, oh my God, he's not an entrepreneur. He's a corporate guy. So he doesn't know how you plant the seed and things start building. He uses other people's money like it's no big deal. His success comes from something already built. There's a difference. Entrepreneurs are not like everybody else. So he didn't understand, but I tried to explain it to him. I used other people as an example. I said, Bill Gates, I mean, he didn't start big. He's like, yeah, but he's not an entrepreneur. I said, yes, he is. He started in his dorm room, but that's the difference. So even though my mentor was a great man, very, very intelligent, he just wasn't an entrepreneur. He didn't get it. So you have to have these things. And even, I'm not saying you can't start before you have those things, but there's some basic procedural things that you need to have in place before you get started. Okay, it doesn't have to be a 30-page handbook, but it needs to be something decent. Okay, let me just check the time because I want to show you guys. Okay, so we started 15 minutes later, so we still have 45 minutes. So I want to go to Sam and have you guys look at some opportunities with me. So next, let me see, make sure I didn't miss anything. So we have, lesson 4, which, and even though this looks very nice and neat in 4 sections, there's a lot in the course. So I just don't want you guys to be surprised. And if you're not ready, don't do it. Take your baby steps and then come back later when you think you're ready to start winning some staffing contracts. Okay. Now, bid preparation and packaging. You guys know I'm a big advocate of submitting those bids and getting them done. I guess there's some people starting to talk like that, but one of the things that I noticed being in this social media space, everybody talks about getting their certifications. They talk about getting set up at SAM, but hardly anybody's talking about, what is it going to take to win? That's what this section is about. But that's where your branding package comes in. Every time you bid on something and your package, and by the way, I mean, I'm with you guys. I'm doing the same thing you're doing, maybe at a much bigger level. Yes. And maybe I have way more experience than you do, but I am really right now planting seeds for my manufacturing. We don't go into production until the end of this year, but I know the government needs these things that I'm doing, or they need this product. And so every time there's a sources sought, I put that package out there. And these sources sought are not tiny little questionnaires. They are 30 and 40 pages. What's good for me is that I create, once I answer one of them, I can take bits and pieces from that one and use it to answer the others. That's going to be you. Everything is not going to be a solicitation. But the reason I do that, and it's exhausting, I'm not kidding you. I was in such a bad mood, and I'm never in a bad mood last week and the week before, because it was like back to back to back. But I know I'm the chief executive officer, but I'm also the acquisitions person. I'm not going to have a big sales team. I will have 3 people under me that know how to negotiate and do bidding and things like that. Other than that, most of the employees will belong to my executive team. They won't belong to me. I won't really deal with anybody except my 3 salespeople. And those people have to be really good at this stuff here, because I won't always be able to do these things. And plus, I need a successor, meaning I need successors or people that can step in my place when I have to travel across the country. We can't miss a bid because Michelle's not here. Now, I've always thought like this, but I also know I have to be practical. I don't need a big sales team. I'm not going to be allowed distribution. I don't need that. We could have a very small sales force, but we have a bigger customer service team. Okay, so, and plus, I don't want all those people reporting to me. I just want a small group of people, because I have people that manage those other people. You will get there too. It may not be with staffing, but it could be, because staffing is big money. It's very big money. You could grow faster than you think. So the bid preparation, and I've never seen myself be in such a bad mood, because I'm not like that generally, but it's because I was being stretched. I am offering the government something I've never offered before. I'm in an arena where I know there are no other small businesses, let alone a woman. I already know that. And so, and I know it because I've done so much research over the past year. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm already manufacturing. I act like I'm already manufacturing. So I know a lot of stuff. But I also know I have to present this information. When they ask for something, I have to present this information as if I know what I'm doing. That's you. You have to act like you know what you're doing. I'm not saying fake it till you make it. I don't believe in that either. Do the work. I've done the work. And not one person on my team will empathize with me. I'm like, this is so much. And they're saying, you got it. We're not worried about it. You got it. And they're right. I do have it. But it's just that they just kept coming. Inquiries about the medical device that I do. And so I had to know it backwards and forwards. And I want to be in a position to put a package on their desk. And I want to keep doing that because they're not asking for a bid per se. But my COO said something important. She says, but don't you feel like as soon as that solicitation comes out, you're going to have all the answers? I said, I do. I do feel that way. She's right. Because those sources' thoughts, which you will see, will help you prepare for what they're looking for. It's as simple as that. So in the bid preparation, it's not just you responding to the solicitation, it's also you being available or presenting yourself to the contracting officer. One thing I know is I have a dynamic brand for the manufacturing that is going to stand out. I know that. And I know every time they see a package from me, they're going to say, there's Michelle again. And they're going to be happy and excited that I'm a female in manufacturing. I already know that. I don't have to get a whole bunch of certifications yet. I don't even care about certifications, to be honest with you. I know people don't understand that. I don't care because I'm going to win anyway. That's why I don't care. I'm not saying people shouldn't do it. I'm saying I don't need it. So I don't even do it. And if you listen to some of our other winners, like some of our DLA winners, one of the ones Jessica won was not a certified set aside. It was just a small business set aside, which is even better because she knocked all those other people out of the way. She does have a service disabled veteran. That is a powerful certification for the veteran, but only for the veterans. Woman-owned, women are not out there like they should be. That's why you don't see no woman-owned set-asides, because women are not bidding. They are not doing the things that it takes to get in front of the contracting officer. So let me leave you with this. You've never heard me say this before. When you put your package, when you submit, I need to make sure you guys are, when you submit a package, guess what? That is marketing to the contracting officer. People always used to, they don't anymore, probably because they listen to my videos and they probably know, don't ask Michelle that question. Everybody tells you, well, you have to market to the contracting officers. It's a bunch of nonsense. You know why? Because they're not telling you, I won't say they're not telling you the truth. They don't know what they're doing. Marketing is bidding. Marketing is responding to a source's thought. Marketing is answering a question when a contracting officer asks you. Marketing is paying attention to what they need to buy. You want to sell something, they want to buy something. All you need to do is find out what they want to buy. In this case, they want to buy staffing. How many staff do they want to buy? They want to buy 10 nurses. They want to buy 2 doctors. That's how you need to look at it. So you're going to bring your best package. Now, pricing, you know, some of you will struggle with that at first, like Jessica did, and I have not put that in there yet, but I am going to, because really I feel like my courses are live, meaning I feel like just because I created a course doesn't mean I don't add things to it. I do. When I see something, I will add to it, or I will say, I missed that. I think I keep getting questions about this. I need to do something about that. So I make my courses what I consider live. I do have pricing for all different positions. I know how to get that. I could teach you how to do that too. Mostly you can do that in USA Spending and one of the other tools. But you know, there are other ways to do that. You don't want to price yourself too low, but you also don't want to be like these other greedy people out here. You want to kick them out of the way. But again, the reason image and presenting yourself is important is because remember, there are a lot of businesses out there that have won in the past. Maybe they They're not still winning because a lot of people were just so excited about COVID. Then they went away. They made a whole bunch of money and then they went away. You want to be a solid, consistent company. Like I want to be that type of manufacturer. All these people that jumped in to help with some of the PPE and all that, they're gone. They're gone. Now the government is looking for people like me. And I knew they would be gone because they were not, people are committed to money. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love making money too. I love making money. But I understand that you need to have a foundation for something that you have a passion to do. And if you don't love it, you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe find something else. Sometimes we have to do things for money as entrepreneurs. I remember being in the position to say, we're not doing 8 days anymore. And everybody was so upset. Why are we not going to do 8 days anymore? It's too time consuming. I will coach on it. I will mentor on it. We are not doing 8-day packages anymore. But those are $5,000, $3,000. I don't care if they want to pay $10,000. We're not doing them anymore. You know why? None of you are experts like I am. I'm the only person on the hook for this 8-day. You can do the paperwork, but I don't have time for that. And plus, I don't even like them. That's the truth. I don't want to do them. I don't want to look at the paperwork you did. None of that. I don't care how much people are going to pay. When you get to that place in your business, it is a wonderful place to be. People think you're crazy, but because it's not about the money. What I wanted to do was spend more time teaching people how to win. If I'm not teaching people how to win, I'm looking at other people's paperwork. I don't want to do that. Plus, I said, people need to learn what's in their 8-day contracts. People need to learn how to do their own certifications. I will teach a class on it, which I did. I had plenty of classes out there on it. But when it comes to doing it for people, no. First of all, it's not consistent income. So what if they pay $10,000? So what if they pay $5,000? And so what if they think this is the only way they're going to win? The truth was, I don't care if you get into 8-day within 1 year, you're not going to win anything if you don't know how to win, if you don't know how to bid. That's what was happening. That's the reason I was annoyed. Why are we helping these people get an 8-day? They don't even understand what they're supposed to be doing because nobody's telling them. So I stopped. Even, it's so funny, my youngest daughter knows what I do in government contracting. And she says, Mommy, don't you think that's kind of crazy? I mean, people pay a lot of money for things like that. And I said, no, I don't. She's like, well, it must be nice to turn down money. Yeah, it is, especially when you're committed to what you're doing. But I consult on 8-day. If somebody says, I want to get my 8-day, I consult on it. I do. And I will tell them what to do. But I'm not going to have my people doing that, and I'm not going to do it. So that has to be you. You have to love this thing. You have to really want to do this. Okay. And you have to know at first it's going to seem like a lot, but you can do it. I have people doing it. They're getting it together. People that started from the beginning. Okay. So let's do this. Let's go over to Sam. We have a good 30 minutes, I think. Yep, we have a good 30 minutes to go over and look in SAM and see what's going on in SAM. And then before we go, I want to tell you guys this. Some of you are interested in doing home health staffing, or, you know, doing your home, you have a home health license. There really is, I was talking to the team about this. I really should not have included, some of you, that's what you want to do. So that might be a little different for you. Okay, so I need to tell you, he'll probably use the same list maybe to let you guys know. I know we have a bigger list for home health also. So if you think that home health is because you have a home health license, or you want to get a home health license and you want to do staffing for, like, some of you know I have a whole nursing home program and home care program. And I feel as though that needs to be kind of separate, even though you have to have a lot of these things. You have to have the recruitment system. You don't have to have necessarily the bidding package system, because home health, what we're finding out is if you're not trying to do a nursing home, you don't need to do this part yet. If you have the ability to open a nursing home, by the way, we have a crisis with the nursing home. The government is willing to put out everything they can for nursing homes. Nursing homes are in trouble, meaning we don't have enough people. A lot of the owners of nursing homes, they sold them, or they don't know how to staff them. It's a lot going on. So I am going to do a free class on that so that people understand the opportunities for that. It's something that to me, people are not thinking about. These nursing homes, they need help. They need staffing. So let's say, just as an example, you decide you want to get into medical staffing. Yes, you could actually provide staffing for these nursing homes, for these home health, but it's a little bit of a fine line for someone to do medical staffing for these situations like adult care, nursing homes, skilled facilities. That's you. That's us right here today. But if you want to own a nursing home, or you have a home health license, there's a little bit more that you need to consider how you want to do it. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there. So if you see a free email saying that I'm going to do the free training for home health and nursing home, that's what it's about. But again, there are a lot of things in here that you still have to do. You got to know how to recruit, no matter what you're doing. You got to know how to recruit because it's all medical. Okay, so let's go over here. I need to pause my screen, okay? Then I'm going to go over and pull up a SAM. You guys should see I have 1,000 screens open. So embarrassing. I always try to close them, but I know you guys do this too. But I always forget to. I'm like, oh my God, I have 100 screens open. But okay, so let me reshare so that we can go straight into SAM. And by the way, they fixed SAM. SAM was a mess. It was not doing, you guys know I like to search all kinds of ways. So let me know that you can see my screen, someone. Let me know that you can see the Google screen. I'm going to go to SAM.gov. If you cannot, then I will reshare. So you guys should see SAM.gov. Raise your hand, somebody, and let me know that you can see it. No, can't see it yet? Okay, let me reshare. And I know some of you are on the phone, but okay, I'm just going to do this one. You should be able to see. Can you see now? Uh-oh. Oh, I see it. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who is that? Florence? Okay, so let's go. So you guys know, most of you guys know how to do SAM.gov. You know how to do this, but you don't know how to search like I know how to search, most of you. Some of you do, but there are a lot of ways to search for opportunities. So let's just go into the medical staffing portion of it so we can see what's out there. Usually I go look before training, but I did not today. What I've done for the other folks that are in training or in the course that went through the live session, I would create a list and give it to them, put it inside the course so that they could, because I want them to constantly look. I don't want to baby everybody, but I want them to constantly look. You should be looking for 15 minutes a day. It won't even take you 15 minutes once you get used to it. Then you should have a spreadsheet where you're taking those opportunities, putting them on the spreadsheet so that when you do have time to go back and bid, you have the date next to the opportunity. So, oh my goodness, I have to look at, like I have 3 things on my calendar right now that I have to respond to by the 4th. And the only reason no one on my team can do it is because it's for my manufacturing company. I don't mix things like that. My manufacturing company is completely separate. So, and I do have some new people that I'm training, but it takes a minute to train people. So I have to do them. Plus they're higher level opportunities. I have to do them. Okay. So I'm going to click on, I went to SAM.gov. I'm going to click on opportunities. And then I'm going to click on advanced search. I always click on advanced search because I want to search in different ways. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is some of the easiest things. I'm going to come down here to notice type. I want to get out all the junk. So I immediately go to notice type. I put in sources sought. I put in pre-solicitation. Pre-solicitation gets you ready. Sources sought is that thing I was talking about that I was annoyed with last week because I kept getting one after the other and the 30 and 40 page responses. That's this for my medical manufacturing device. You guys won't always have this. It might be 1 or 2 pages. They might even ask you to submit a capability statement. Okay, so it won't always be overwhelming like mine. I was annoyed only because I have so many things to do at work that I felt like I wasn't getting my regular work done, but I know this is important. So I did them, even if I had to stay up late at night. And my team, everybody would ask, is there anything I can do to help you? No, there's nothing you can do to help me because you don't know about this part, or you can't explain like I can. So not because I know everything, but because my team has put together all of these procedures, and I'm the only one that wins government contracts right now. Nobody else on my team wins. I'm talking my medical team. They don't know how to do this. They're just learning. So, and that's not their job. They're doing other things. So you're going to have that. You'll get, some of you have a partner. Some of you have, someone that can maybe do this. So just always remember, it won't always be you by yourself. You will eventually have a partner. You will eventually have a team, even if it's just you and someone else. But what you want to be able to do is teach someone how to do these things. You could sit them down in front of this course and tell them, okay, I need you to learn this first, and then I'll talk to you. So we have 3 areas. We have the sources sought, we have the pre-solicitation. And remember, you don't want to pass up sources sought if at all possible. Sometimes you'll run into them too late, but when you see a sources sought that's asking for information about staffing, you want to jump on it. Here's why. Most people don't even respond to these. They don't, which means if you believe in marketing and if you believe in people knowing you and what you're offering, this is how you do it. You may be the only one to show up. And people have asked me, has anybody ever won like that? People do win like that. Sometimes they do. And here's why staffing for medical, here's why they're doing more and more sources sought. They're doing that because the people that used to win, all those big companies during COVID, was gouging the government. And they're sick of it. They're tired of it. So are the nursing homes. So are these nursing homes. They need help with staffing, but they're being gouged. People are just, trying to overcharge them. The nursing homes were asking President Biden to help them with staffing. I'm thinking to myself, what do they think he could do? I guess they felt like maybe he could do a moratorium or something. I don't know, but I understand why they were feeling that way. Remember when we were paying, well, you guys probably don't know about this, $125 an hour for a nurse, remember? That was just last year. It stopped just last year, barely. That's out of the question. But that's what was being paid. So that doesn't mean the nurse was making the whole 125, but if you are able to even pay $25 an hour off of a medical professional, that's a lot of money per hour for one person. And let's say you had 5. So a lot of those people, either they went away on their own because they were so greedy, they were gouging the government and they got what they needed to get, or the government just stopped using them. How did they stop using them and start finding new blood? They started doing the sources sought. Well, let's see who else is out there. Maybe we could use some of them, because these larger companies, and I'm talking some of the larger small businesses too. If you're doing 40 million a year, that's a large small business. Well, it kind of depends. Staffing, I think you can only go, I have to look at what you guys' NACE codes are, but I mean, I know what your NACE codes are. I have to look at your number. Like, you do know that you are evaluated as a small business based off of your NACE code. And we'll see some NACE codes in just a minute. But I want you to just remember that. That's how Jessica got in. I told her, you don't need to do those high numbers. Let's look at the bid pricing template, what you're going to put in there. How much money do you want to make? I mean, do you want to make $1 million off of this contract? If she said yes, then let's play with the numbers. But you don't have to charge $50 on top of $50. So if you're paying the nurse $52, you don't have to charge another $50. That's just greedy. Your competitors are doing that and they're going to lose. And that's how Jessica got in. She got in because of 2 reasons. And they told her, because I would tell her, ask them why you didn't win or ask them why you won. It would be her packages were amazing. And she did have some pretty good packages. Her packages would look amazing, and which you would learn how to do that too. And her pricing. And they felt like she knew what she was doing because she had a methodology. If they ask you, well, how do you recruit? You have to have a methodology for that. And she did. Well, these are the steps that we do. So in her case, she had me in her ear saying, I'm not going to tell you how much to make. I'm just going to ask you how much do you want to make? And I said, see, that's reasonable. If we go back and do some research, those people won a contract for the same exact situation for 2 nurses, but they charge double what you're charging. You don't have CEOs. She's the CEO herself, obviously, but you don't need to make, $500,000 off of one contract for yourself. How much are you going to pay yourself? How much are you going to pay your other employees? Who do you have on staff? Well, you're not going to use everybody for the contract. You're just going to use an administrator. Are you going to be the administrator? Because maybe this is your first contract and you don't need another administrator. So things like that. Okay, so we have the sources sought, we have the pre-solicitation. The solicitation, you guys know that means you're going to bid. So then I'm going to come down here and put in, I'm not going to do the NACE codes. I'm going to do product service codes. Now, why? Product service codes are more accurate. Some of you are in my DLA, you know how that is. You know that product service codes get you closer because the government actually creates product service codes. The commercial industry creates NACE codes. NACE codes can be wrong. So I always look at product service codes first, and then I get the NACE codes because you do need to put both in your SAM. Most people only put NACE codes in their SAM and they don't put their PSC codes. In the course, I talk about that. I tell you which PSC codes you should be using. So let's just do Q. Q is a PSC code for medical. So I'm going to do Q. Hold on a second, you guys. I need to just pause my screen. I see my computer getting dark. So give me just a second to plug up before I get into trouble. Hold on just a moment. Oh, here. Okay, there we go. So Q is for medical services. Now, some people, which is a smart idea, when they just are really anxious to find something, they just do Q. You can just do Q for medical services, but you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, now we just happen to get something good. So if you look at the screen, you will see 554 results. Well, we didn't do awards. We didn't do any of the trash stuff, meaning we cleaned it up to make sure we're only focusing on medical things. Now, some of these things are products, but that's okay. I want to give you forewarning, do not work with Indian Health Services because they will not pay you. I don't know what it is about that agency that they are allowed to get away with things, but they are a mess. And you're going to see a lot of activity out here. And you know why you see a lot of activity from them? Because I believe small businesses are not working with them. I don't know what their problem is. And I do know this, it's not managed completely by the federal government because the federal government has laws. They must be working with Indian tribes. I just don't even get it, but I don't have time to explain. Just don't do it. You will be sorry. Don't work with them. They'll find a way not to pay you. They will create all kinds of problems. It's just not good. And again, we don't have time to fight that battle. But let's look at something here. Now, this is the federal prison system. The federal prison system has gotten a lot better. They used to give people a hard time to get in and start doing business with them. Not anymore, because a lot of businesses, they don't have enough businesses to cater to the things that they need. I would not suggest that you start with the federal prison system just because I think you need to learn a little bit more about the environment. When you're hiring people for staffing to send them out into the field, you need to know what it's like. And I say that to say, I will tell you one of the things about Indian Health Services that would probably scare you to death. They don't allow security. They don't allow nurses and doctors to be protected. A lot of these Indian agency hospitals are in not so good neighborhoods, but they don't allow regular police to come in and protect the employees. And then they try to act like they don't know that that's happening. So you're not going to get people that will respond to you if you say it's for Indian Health Services in certain states. Arizona, no nurses will work there. I don't know about doctors. I know in Arizona, no nurses will work for Indian Health Service. So don't waste your time is what I'm saying. Now, every position that you look at, and Jessica talks about that with me in the training, we talk about know the environment of the situation, look it up. If it's a small town, look it up. Or if you don't know what kind of town it is, you don't know anything about it, look it up. Because you don't want people to tell you, meaning you don't want people turning you down for the position because you didn't think about that. What is it like to work at the prison system? Maybe you could Google that or go into Indeed and see, are people talking about what it's like to work as a nurse in a prison system? These are things you need to know. That way you don't waste your time. But those are two good opportunities. It looks like they need a temporary nurse practitioner and a temporary physician assistant. These are two good situations that I would encourage you to go for if it wasn't federal prison system. Some of you may choose to go for something like this. Some of you may be okay with it, okay? Now, let's see what else. Here's a good one. Veterans Administration, they need an ophthalmologist and an optometrist. This is a perfect one for a startup staffing agency. So let's just click on this one, okay? Now, before I click on this one, I want to tell you something else. What if I wanted to just go for, let's say I just wanted to go for nurses, before I come back to that. If I just wanted to go for nurses as an example, I would do 402. See, just nurse, oh, that's home health. I think nurses is 401. So I would just do 401. I would click on 401 and then I would see what comes up. But I want to take a look at what's in here with this optometrist. And I want you to see what it looks like. So let's click on here. And then we'll go inside and I will tell you. So this is where you would send a package. Let's see what okay, it's a real solicitation. So the first thing you want to do is when you come inside here, you want to look around. You want to get as much information as you can off of this first page before you go downloading documents. And that would mean looking at what's up here. You see, this is the notice ID. When you're responding to solicitations, this is the ID that you would put in the subject. When you are doing a response, you would say response, and then you would put the ID number, and you could even put the title so that the contracting officer knows what you're responding to. You could also do that when you have a question, but you can only ask questions in most cases when they tell you to. They might say, okay, so when is this due? We want to look at when it's due right away. When it's due is February 8th. The Q&A period may already be over, but you know, I walk you through all of these things, what you need to look at, what you need to consider. I'm doing this with you now, but in the training, we go through all of this because there are a lot of little big things that you need to consider. The question is, do you have enough time to do this? I always think about that. And I'm very quick at, Jessica is the one that made me realize, Michelle, you need to create something to help these people go quickly through to make a decision about whether they want to bid on something. Okay, so this may not be enough time for you if you're new. That means you gotta, know how to find the people in Indeed. You gotta get your Indeed account set up. There's so many things you would have to do. So this may be too soon, but if it were a pre-solicitation, you might have time. Okay, so it's due February 8th, and do not forget the time. This makes a big difference. When I see that the time is early, oh my God, this is due at 12 o'clock. You know what I do? I prepare to turn it in the night before, because I'm always fearful that something's going to happen and I'm going to forget, or I put in a timer in my computer, meaning some email systems will allow you to set it up to be delivered at a certain time. I wouldn't do it at 12 o'clock, but I might say, I want you to deliver this at 4 o'clock in the morning on February 8th, something like that. but it means I have to be done. This is not a set aside. So that means they have not ever seen any small businesses out here trying to source optometrists. Otherwise, they probably would make this a small business set aside. When they don't see us, they don't set it aside. The reason those sources thoughts were so important for me to get them in is because now they're going to consider small businesses, even if it's just me by myself. But it makes it easier for me to beat the bigger guys. That's why you want to respond to these things. Every time you respond to a source's thought, it makes it easier for them to set aside for you. And they may even set it aside for you as a woman. You know what, you guys, I have to do something. I forget. I have so much history. I probably need to clean out my history. I need to switch over to my Explore account. It's already open. Yeah, as you can see, it's already open. Hold on a second. I'm going to switch you guys over in a minute because it's not going to show me the documents that need to be downloaded, and I need you guys to see everything because I have so much open. I need to clean up. So let me reshare the screen just a second. Here it is right here. I'm resharing right now. And well, as you guys can see, I've been busy. I have all those SAMs open and all those documents open. Okay, so here it is. You should be able to see my screen where we're going to go back down to where the documents are or should be. And sometimes you need to make sure you have cleaned out your cookies too, because you won't see documents if you don't. That's why I needed to switch from Chrome, because I've been downloading so much in Chrome. Okay, so look at all this. This looks like a lot. This could be scary. This is too much. I would look at this, but for you as a first time, this is really discouraging me for some of you, because I'm thinking, Lord have mercy, what are all these documents about? Normally, when it's only a couple of people, a couple of staffing people, you don't see this much activity. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm just saying it could be too much for you to consider. So this right here is when they first did the solicitation. They've added things, so I'm just going to click on that. Now, when you see a lot of documents like that, what is this? Open 2, 3. So I'm going to open it, and I need to reshare again because you might not see the other document download. When they have a lot of activity like that, let me just reshare, make sure you guys can see it. Looks like you can. That means you have to open up each one of those documents and look at all of this. But what do you do before you download a document? You need to look at the entire page before you download a document, because you could get the answer to some of your questions on that first page. So don't just go clicking on documents. See if you can get some information out of the situation. I do. Sometimes I read the first page in SAM and I say, no, I don't want to be bothered with all that. But this is way too many documents. So this is what the solicitation looks like. Now, they wanted this due originally back in January. They probably got so many questions. They probably didn't have enough time. So there's probably an addendum out there to resubmit the solicitation and update it. Okay, for your first ones, if you see a lot of activity like this, walk away. You're not ready for it, unless you've done this before. If you haven't, I would suggest that you not. But this is, I'm not going to walk through the whole thing. You know, you get this in the course, but this is what they call a 1449. Every solicitation has one of these, or should. If it doesn't have this page, then you have to create one. I show you how to do that too. If you don't have this page. The Veterans Administration, Health and Human Services, they're pretty consistent with how their bids look, how their solicitations look. So the key is to learn how each agency does their bids, their solicitations. But you need to remember, they all use the same FAR. They all use the same rules. They can't just change the rules. Do they miss some items or not do things the same exact way? Yes, that's true. Now, this is interesting. Look at this. This says on this document that this is a set aside. Oh my goodness, I think I see what happened. So originally back on 126, or when it was due on 126, they made it a set aside. Guess what probably happened? Nobody bid on it. No small businesses bid on it. or no small businesses responded. So they probably had to change it back to an open, unrestricted, so the big companies could participate. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. When they don't see us, they got to buy things. They can't wait for us to get it together. If they don't see us, they have to move on to the next. And then that's how the big companies get in. Okay, so this, you don't need to worry about this page, but that's the 1449. And a couple of pages down, you're going to see all of the details. I teach you guys how to do this. What do I need to do when I'm looking at a solicitation? Well, you need to read or find where the instructions are. They're usually in section E. They're usually in section E, right here. So the first thing I do is go to the offeror's instructions. You know why? Because I want to see what are the things they want me to do. Can I do these things? You know, I need to look at, is this some kind of special format, or can I just complete this document? This document, when I say this document, I mean any solicitation, is usually very intimidating. It looks intimidating, but guess what? There are only a few pages in here that you have to fill out. This 124 pages, do you need to read it eventually? Yes. Do you need to skim through it to make sure that you can meet these standards? Yes, but where do you do that? You do that first under the scope of work, or the scope of work, or what sometimes they could call it the SAL. So you want to read what they need first, but I always go to the instructions first, then I go to the scope of work. And you can do either or. Now, let me show you where the pricing would be. You would put in the pricing. Usually it's down here. Here it is right here. So I show you how to open this document or upload this document and fill in all of this. Okay. It looks very intimidating, but it's really not. And that's what people don't want to tell you. People want to charge you $3,500 to do this. I'm not saying it's worth it. It's not worth it. We used to charge people $3,500. But again, I was so passionate about making sure that my customers and proteges know how to do this, that I said, we're not doing that anymore. We need to teach them how to do it. And it's better, because are you going to keep paying somebody $3,500? You're not going to do that if you understand that you have to plant seeds. You can't keep paying people $3,500. People pay somebody $3,500, $5,000, and I ask them, okay, we'll take the money and we'll help you, but I want you to take this and use it as a template. Do you think you're going to keep paying $3,500? I want you to bid 5 times a month. But they don't think about it that way, because I'm the only person saying that. And I say that because it's the truth. I have to plant seeds just like everybody else. You can't just do this one. I'm not saying you're not going to win, because you could win. But this is not what you want to live off of. You want 2 contracts, 5 contracts. You want as many as you can get, right? So, or as many as you can handle. So this is what it looks like. There's a lot more to it, but I see why small businesses probably opted out of this one. It's a lot. I thought this was just a couple of ophthalmologists, but it's not. You also have, this is good though. This is good for someone who's experienced. This is a 4 or 5 year contract. And this is what you're going to be seeing and looking at, which a lot of you are excited about that. But you have to realize your pricing needs to be good. You got to be ready to compete, and you got to do a few of these so you can win your first one and make a name for yourself. And it doesn't take that long. Jessica won in less than 60 days. I was even shocked by that, because I thought she knew a lot of what she was doing. She said, well, I know commercial, but I didn't know anything about this till you taught me. I thought she had her certification. She didn't even have her certification. I just mentioned it. Well, you're a service disabled veteran. Do you have your certification? She's like, no, how do I do that? But she was moving very quickly. You can do the same thing. Okay. So that's basically it for us, you guys. I will make sure that this is recorded. We're right on time. You guys know I have another appointment in a few minutes. We're right on time. I hope that this was very helpful to you. I will make sure that we get the tech guy to wrap this up. It will be raw. I will not cut anything out of this. but I want to make sure that all of you guys get this. And then, we will let you know that we will give you some discounts if you decide to get into the program, and you can decide. And then also write to me via my FedBiz training email if you have any other questions. Okay, but this should have given you a really good overview. You're welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, talk to you guys soon. But this should give you a good overview. All right. And then you guys can ask questions afterwards, later. Have a good weekend, and thank you for joining me today.